Hi guys, it's Yadi. Welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be 10 makeup tips for beginners. So let's just jump right into it. Tip number 1. It's basically the most important one. It's just to learn your skin type. Know how your skin reacts to certain things. Know if you have dry skin, if you have oily skin. This is really like the key factor into how you do your face makeup, because your skin type is what tells you what foundation is going to agree with your skin and what foundation is not going to agree with you. So how do you figure out what kind of skin type do you have? All you have to do is pay attention to what your skin tells you, because you'll be able to figure it out that way. If, for example, you feel like you have dry patches on your skin, that makeup clings to certain areas of your face, that generally means that you have dry skin. And then if you feel like your face produces too much oil, then that means that you probably have oily skin. And then there's people that have combination skin, such as myself. For example, for me, I have really dry skin like down here and then on my chin, but then my nose, like around my nose, I get really oily and I constantly have to be blotting away. Okay, so on to tip number 2. Tip number 2 is get a primer for your skin type. Okay, so generally if you have oily skin, you want to get a mattifying primer. And then if you have dry skin, you want to get a hydrating primer. A really good hydrating primer is the Too Faced Hangover RX primer. This is the primer that I love and I use. I mean, my face. And after this weekend, after New Year's, oh my god, I don't know, I had to get home, shower, and put straight up coconut oil on my face because it was like bad. It was bad. So depending on how your skin type is, that's what really indicates what primer you should be getting. Because if you have oily skin, you definitely should not be getting a hydrating primer, because that's just going to make you even more oily than you already get. Okay, and now tip number 3 is about foundation. Before you buy a foundation, know what it is that you want the foundation to do. If you want a foundation that gives you full coverage, then you probably shouldn't be going out to buy a foundation that has light to medium coverage, because you're going to spend money on something that isn't going to do what you want it to. What I like to do when I'm going to buy a foundation is read the reviews on the foundation. I'll read good reviews, bad reviews, why it didn't work for that person, why it did work for somebody else, because that way I know if it's going to work with my skin or if it's not going to work for me. That way you prevent yourself from spending money on something that you may not like. Okay, now on to tip number 4, and that is to fill in your eyebrows before putting on foundation. Now, why do I like to do that? Is basically because I'm not perfect at drawing on my eyebrows, and I rather have to redo them when I have no foundation on than have my foundation on and have to take some of it off to fix my eyebrow. Now on to tip number 5, and that's just to anything that you do with makeup, just do it little by little. Like if you're gonna apply bronzer, don't dig your brush into the bronzer, swirl it around, and then just put it directly on your face, because you're gonna end up with an orange stripe on your face. You just tap off the brush and you gradually build up whatever color it is or whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's bronzer, blush, highlight. And then the same for foundation. If you feel like your foundation doesn't give you enough coverage, just do a light layer and then add another one on top. Tip number 6 is an eyeshadow tip. And that's basically to try and keep dark colors, for example, black and dark brown, below the crease. See, when you take a dark eyeshadow above the crease, that's how people get raccoon eyes or black eyes. And I mean, sometimes I do that on purpose when I want to do something that I'm not gonna wear out to the street, like if I'm just gonna take a picture for Instagram, because generally if you see something crazy on my Instagram, I'm not wearing that to go out. That's just for a photo purpose only. From that, like I said, just do it little by little, but always try to avoid bringing your eyeshadow up too high. And the way to do that with dark colors is to use smaller brushes. Like, don't use, for example, where is it? Like, for example, don't use a brush like this to apply a really dark color, because then you're just gonna get it literally everywhere, and that's not what you want. Okay, now on to tip number 7, and that's just to know the difference between warm tones and cool tones. I mean, I talked about this in my last video, so I'm not gonna go into too much depth, but that's basically a warm tone is a color that has yellow or orange, and then a cool tone is a color that has purple or gray. Now that's not just for eyeshadow, that's also for bronzer. Personally, I can't wear cool tone bronzers because I look like I have mud on my face, so I always stick to warmer colors. My favorite though is the Hula by Benefit. I mean, this is like everybody's favorite, but I mean, you can tell because I already hit pan on it. Okay, now on to number 8. And okay, this one is probably one of the most important, and that is to invest in a good set of makeup brushes. I mean, good doesn't mean expensive, because you can get a good makeup set from Morphe for $50. And then get a set that has a little bit of everything that you need, like a contour brush, a blush brush, a blending brush, a small crease brush, a pencil brush, and a liner brush. And one of my favorite tools, a spoolie. And tip number 9 is really pretty much essential to my existence, and that is when you're putting on mascara, instead of looking directly into a mirror, like angle the mirror down like this. That way you avoid, you know, the mascara stains up here. Like, how annoying is it when you do really good eyeshadow and then you ruin it putting on mascara? I mean, this is like the story of my life. So honestly, take it from experience. Like, just, I'll demonstrate. Whereas if I'm like this, I have chances of like taking it up and like smacking my eye, and I don't want to do that. You know how hard it is to take off mascara stains? Okay, now on to the 10th tip, and this is the one that was honestly the most important to me, and that is to not give up, because it's frustrating when you want to learn to do something and then you don't get the results that you want. But it's worse to just give up and not try anymore. Like when I wanted to learn how to do wing liner, I used to stand in front of the mirror until my eye burned from how many times I would have to like apply it, mess up, take it off, do it again. I would take turns. I would do one eye, mess up, do the other eye, it would come out kind of okay, and then I'll be like, oh, I'm doing the other eye, and then I would mess up this eye again. I mean, honestly, that's like the most important. If you don't get it the first time, try again. Don't give up. Makeup is one of those things where practice really does make perfect, because I'm telling you, I could not do winged eyeliner. Like, and I still struggle sometimes. Like, sometimes my wings don't match because my eyes are like 2 different eyes. Honestly, if you really look close, one is like droopy and one is not. So that's a struggle for me, but I make it work. I do what I got. This concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you learned something that maybe you didn't know. And if you know any other tips that I didn't mention, leave them in the comments below. That way I can learn something that I don't know too. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment to this video. Bye!